Ask Reddit by IC Conversation 1069. What's the most surreal landscape you've ever seen firsthand? Iceland. Feels like another planet. So true. I was there last October, picked up a rental car from Keflavik Airport when it was still dark, about 6 AM. Driving around in Iceland as the sun rises is one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had. You can never truly appreciate the beauty of the Grand Canyon till you see it in real life. It almost looks fake. It's so big I felt like my depth perception just couldn't comprehend it beyond a certain point, so it just turned into a 2D background. That's really the best way I could describe it. Yellowstone, the bubbling cauldrons. I felt like I was on an alien planet while visiting Yellowstone. Super cool. Moab, UT always blew my mind. Arches was the most beautiful place I've ever seen. The Dolomites left a pretty deep impression on me. Seeing my local town transformed by the total solar eclipse was absolutely surreal. Still haven't got over how incredible totality was. Tasmania. It makes sense why people used to think there was a edge of the earth. Isle Hayou de Villafranca. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. https://buyacause.com/isle-de-villa-franca-do-campo/ right bracket open bracket https://buyacause.com Isle de Villafranca do Campo. Kuwait on fire. For me it's Socotra Island on Yemen, magical place from another planet. Out in the enormous buttes, canyons, and spires in Utah, USA, it's breathtakingly bizarre. It has a stark beauty of its own, but it's also bleakly barren. Everyone ought to see it at least once. It's not the entire state. Wish I could tell you what highway we were on, but I don't remember. It was over 50 years ago, when I drove through that part of Utah. The Dakota Badlands are bizarre, too. And the Salt Flats, and Alkali Flats of Nevada. And the area around Soap Lake, in Washington. The state, not DC. All of those feel like another planet. The whole southeast border of the state is all state national parks in Utah. I spent 3 days there while driving across the country. It could have been 3 weeks and I would have been okay with it. It is a remarkable part 9f the world, and I highly recommend seeing it. Badlands East Dakota. Yeah, that was like being on the moon. The Mojave Desert in March when the flowers were in bloom. I passed through once during a snowstorm which was amazing. I'd love to go back when the flowers are blooming. Hell, Grand Cayman. Zhangjiajie National Park in China, aka the Avatar Mountains. Pictures don't do the place justice, and while normally it would ruin the day to get rained on while out hiking, in this case I was extremely fortunate because those mountains are simply incredible after a rainy mist passes through them. I also saw the biggest waterfall I've ever seen there, and it was just water runoff from the rain. Not so much fun was riding the Bailong elevator, tallest elevator in the world, in the middle of that rainstorm because so much water was leaking and that we had to have our umbrellas open inside of it. The Love Valley in Cappadocia, Turkey. 3 hours on horseback, terrifyingly close to cliffs at times. But very unique experience. White Sands National Park on a damp overcast day. Everything was white, the ground, the sky, nobody else around. Like strolling onto a blank canvas. Traveling from Missoula, MT to San Diego, CA, driving south on I-15 in the US you pass through the tiniest bit of Arizona. The driver said, "We're going to be in Arizona for a few minutes. Take a look." I woke up and looked around at a dry brown desert. Huh. Arizona looks pretty brown, I thought. But not even a minute later, it started to rain just a little bit and the whole area turned green. All the little plants opened right up for that tiny little bit of water. I had to blink a few times because it was such an unusually quick change of color. That moment felt very surreal at the time. The driver said to me, "Change comes pretty fast sometimes." This reads like something that would happen in a Hemingway book. Beautiful. Death Valley. I've seen a lot of the places listed in this thread, but for me it's Greenland. Seen from an airplane. The ice cap just fucking goes forever. The mountains at the edge just get swallowed up by it. It's completely mind-blowing in scale. Nothing else has ever made me feel like I was staring out at a whole other planet, but Greenland did. Morocco Mountains. Giant's Causeway. Deleted. I have seen it and it's average. Empty Bromo, Java, Indonesia. Go up to see the sunrise. Absolutely surreal. I did go up to see the sunrise and it was cloudy that day. The volcano was still beautiful though, and I had better luck with the weather at Ijen Crater the next day, also a wonderfully surreal landscape. Asheville during the eclipse before this last one we just had.